Welcome to Paradise in the Pines, a podcast about the people, places, and stories that make this the home of American golf. Brought to you by the Pinehurst Southern Pines Aberdeen Area Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Hello again, everybody. Happy New Year and welcome to Paradise in the Pines. I'm Phil Wirtz, President and CEO of the Pinehurst Southern Pines Aberdeen Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. And man, what a way to start a new year. We are honored to have with us from the state of North Carolina, Senator Tom McInnis. Tom, Happy New Year. How's it going?
Happy New Year to you. And we have a beautiful northern day that is going to touch everybody's interest in remembering what it was in New York and New Jersey.
There we go. Well, we got plenty to talk about. And appreciate your time away from your constituents to stop by the CVB and take some time to enter Paradise in the Pines. Senator McInnis in his fifth term as state senator, running for a sixth term, of course, son of a farmer and school teacher from Richmond County, Senate Majority Whip, and serves as the chairman of the Transportation Committee and Educational Committee. So we appreciate all the work you do.
Yes, sir.
I know you've been in politics for a number of years, but you hear about career politicians, but you're the son of a farmer and a school teacher. How much of that is the basis and the foundation for who Senator Tom McInnis is today?
Every day and every moment and everything we do, we think about the outcome of what our actions are and what the reaction will be. And we try to bring a sense of common sense, if you will, to the General Assembly. And sometimes common sense is kind of scarce,
Right.
and a lot of times it gets checked at the door. So that's what we try to bring to the General Assembly.
You've seen a lot of challenges and had a lot of victories and maybe a couple defeats along the way. What are some of the biggest challenges you face in the legislature at this coming session?
Well, there's 170 members, 50 in one side of the building and 120 in the other. Mm-hmm. And, of course, you've got to get a majority on both sides to agree with your position on anything you do. And then, of course, it's got to go to the governor to be signed. So there's a lot of moving parts, and one of the things, of course, that we're very, very adamant about is the fight that we have against the fentanyl problem that is going on in America today, especially here in North Carolina. While we're taping this event, someone will die in North Carolina because of a fentanyl overdose. So we've got to pay attention, and we've got to do what's right and do what's correct and do what has the right outcome for our citizens on that terrible, terrible situation.
And of course, that is, as you said, a huge impact on our population. And a lot of people think, and we mentioned before this show, we're not going to get too political because in tourism we try to stay pretty neutral. But I think it is impacting when you hear that immigration, this illegal immigration, every state is a border state.
Yeah.
And you hear about the fentanyl that's coming across the border. Is that making its way into North Carolina, or is it from a different source that you're talking about?
No, it's absolutely coming from the cartels in Mexico. The precursor material is brought in from either India or China, and they bring the final product, the finished product, if you will. They have illegal pill presses there that they mix the fentanyl in with the different other agents, cocaine or whatever, and then they ship it up here in its final form. There is some here that's mixed, but most of it comes pre-mixed and pre-ready.
We certainly appreciate your keeping an eye on that and being diligent in trying to eradicate that problem, because it does have a problem in all our communities, all income levels. It hides from nobody. So we appreciate all your work you're doing there. On a more positive note, got the U.S. Open sweatshirt on today for good reason. You were very instrumental, along with a number of other people, to bring not only U.S. Open championships here, but the USGA Golf House Pinehurst just opened just a few weeks ago, back in December. Go back and kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, if you will, and talk about how did you get Michael Wan to the table and everybody else there to gather and talk about what eventually became Golf House Pinehurst?
Well, it's an easy sell when we talk about the beauty of Pinehurst, the historic value of golf here in this community, and what golf has meant for over almost 125 years or approximately here in Moore County. And so it's an easy sale. Our community is well suited and well fitted for the USGA because of the way they operate their business. I mean, they are, of course, a nonprofit. They establish the rules of golf and the handicap system, and they, of course, monitor and test and approve all the equipment that's used in the game of amateur golf. and New Jersey is getting really, really crazy. And we'll take an opportunity away from New Jersey any day of the week. And so that was the genesis of that, is they wanted to look for a place because they had to build a new facility. Their testing facility was worn out and outdated and everything, so they had to build a new one. They wanted to be in a different location, and the cradle of American golf here at Pinehurst fit the bill.
And as did Pinehurst Resort. Talk about, the marriage between the U.S. People ask me, hey, is this just happened since 1999? The relationship with Pinehurst and USGA goes back decades. Talk about that relationship and how that played a part here.
Goes back decades, and of course, again, Pinehurst has always been a name that's synonymous with the game. The number 2 course, recognized one of the greatest and finest and toughest courses in the world, and so it was an easy sale to get that marriage in there. And then one thing we haven't talked about, the World Golf Hall of Fame.
You read my mind.
Coming back from Florida, which in actuality, it never should have left Pinehurst.
Right.
Pinehurst was its foundation. It should have been here, but things happened way before you and I got here, so I won't speculate on that. But what I will talk about is the future, and the future is that it will be embedded in the USGA facility right there in Pinehurst. I believe it's on the 2nd floor.
Yes, sir.
And it'll be the first induction ceremony of that in Pinehurst this year. So we'll have the world stage coming to our door. A lot of people from all over the world that love the game of golf will be following what's happening with that induction ceremony.
We've been watching that progress. Of course, the administrative offices had to open by the end of December for incentive purposes. And you have the testing center, as you mentioned. The other building, as Senator mentioned, the 2nd floor is the World Golf Hall of Fame. The 1st floor will be the Welcome Center, which should be open, from what Janine Driscoll, our good friend with the USGA, told us, would be open about a month before the U.S. Open in mid-June. So Patrick Harrington would be in that induction class. Some of the founding ladies of the LPGA, which hugely important ladies there, will be recognized as well. So we look forward to that, not only for the U.S. Open, but because that's another big tourist attraction for this destination, because I understand it'll be a museum, but it will change out periodically, quarterly, semi-annually. So it'll be something new and different each time people come to the destination.
Absolutely, and it'll add possibly as many as 100,000 additional tourists to come here for our golf interest, where they be players or where they just be folks that are interested in the history of golf. Here in the United States and North America. So it'll bring a lot of people to Pinehurst, a lot of people to Moore County. They'll spend a lot of money. They'll pay a lot of taxes for sales tax and use tax. And we're all about that kind of tax, because the great thing about that kind of tax, we don't have to build a lot of extra facilities, which is a great thing. And we love our golfers. We love them to fly in on the jets, and we love to fill up with fuel at the airport, spend the night in the hotel, buy some golf clubs, have some drinks, have some dinner, and get back on that plane and hightail it out there and go back to their home and bring in another crowd next week. That's what it's all about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And what's interesting, too, is that while we live in a great place in Pinehurst, the home of American golf, cradle of American golf, we live in a great state of North Carolina, the 5th most visited state in the United States. I give Whit Tuttle, I'm sure you know him from Visit North Carolina, the executive director, because usually when you see the images of North Carolina, it's the mountains and the coast. I was like, hey, don't forget about golf now.
That's right.
And you talk about the U.S. Open this year, there's going to be 250,000 people here for that week, June 10th through the 16th, $200 million impact of the state or this region of North Carolina. And then the U.S. Opens in 29, 35, 41, 47. I read when you did the groundbreaking with Michael Wan and Tom Pashley and everybody else that that's a $2 billion impact on the state of North Carolina for the next 25 years. Golf is a big deal in North Carolina.
Big deal.
How much is that going to impact areas outside of golf with that kind of economic development?
Well, we've got an estimate that the region, if we go out and get the upper part of South Carolina and, of course, the east and west and the north here in North Carolina, is about $600 potential million. Not just the local but going from the Charlottes, the Raleighs, the Columbias,
Right.
the places like that, the Fayetteville, any place that there's a hotel, there's transportation, there's rental cars, there's food service and gasoline purchases and all the things that go along with it. So we're going to see a big economic boom and a big economic benefit. And again, it's the kind of benefit that we like in North Carolina because we don't have to build a lot of extra facilities. We get to use the facilities we have,
Right.
and we save a lot of money for the taxpayers, but we put a lot of money in our schools and our other infrastructure as well.
It's interesting because we talk to people. We don't sell real estate, but we understand if people come down here, visit the area, fall in love with it, and move here. So we say don't blame us for all the people moving here. What was it like growing up in Richmond County? This area has changed so much. I mean, I remember Rockingham Speedway used to be NASCAR there long before golf became massively huge as it is now with the USJ moving here. How much has this area changed just in, say, the last 30, 40 years to the point that you remember it as a young man?
It's significant, and one of the great things, of course, that's helped our area is our community college system, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, as we go along. But I was raised on a farm, and that type of farm basically no longer exists. That was a little subsistence farm. My dad was a building contractor. He built a few houses along and built somebody a barn if they needed one. My mom was a school teacher, and so it was a very rural and very close-knit community. And then, of course, if we needed something, we'd go to Moore County because that's where the shopping was. That's where the health care was. That's where a lot of the courses that were taught at Sand Hills Community College, one of the premier community colleges in America, right here in this area. So it has grown dramatically and drastically, but I can tell you with certainty every morning when we get up here in Moore County, 17,000 people leave Moore County to go to work in another area. But every morning when we get up, 17,000 people drive into Moore County to go to work in facilities here in the county. So we've got an even swap of leaving and coming here to make a living and make things happen. So a lot of those people are coming from our outlying counties of Hoke and Richmond and Montgomery and that sort of thing to come here and go to work.
I know we talk about all this growth, but I understand after doing some research, and you've mentioned a couple of times when we've spoken casually, is that you have a real love of nature and plants, birds, the outdoors. In fact, I understand last biennium you introduced a bill to preserve farmland. How important is that to you while we grow to still preserve farmlands in our rural culture?
Well, number one, business in North Carolina today is agriculture. It's over $100 billion. I mean, it's unbelievable what we're doing. I mean, it's everywhere from Manteo to Murphy, and we've got a fabulous farming community here in Moore County, and we got to make sure that we don't tax that land away from people, that we give them the opportunity to make a living on that farm, but we also have good markets for the product that they grow. And whether it be, we have a lot, big poultry here, we've got small grains and that sort of thing, fruits and vegetables, we've got goats and chickens and hogs and equine. Of course, our horse industry here in Moore County, one of the biggest in North Carolina. Our cattle industry is the same. I mean, we got a myriad of things here that are related to ag. We need to preserve that ag opportunity, but we need to also remember we've got to feed not only a hungry nation, but a hungry world. And so that's what we got to make sure we support our ag industry in North Carolina.
But how do we balance preserving farmlands, nature, with the growth that we're experiencing in Moore County?
Well, it's very easy. We got to make sure that we have a market for our ag products. Because if we lose our markets for our ag products, then the only other opportunity someone has as a landowner is development or some other type of recreation, and takes the fact of the matter out that ag is not important. But ag is important, and we have programs in North Carolina, voluntary ag districts, ag preservation, being able to sell the development rights, being able to do conservation easements. So if whatever someone that is a owner of farmland wants to do, they can do and preserve their position with it.
let's talk economic development. I know Natalie Hawkins, you're a huge fan of. She is our executive director of the Moore County Economic Development Partnership. She's been very instrumental and get a lot of things done in conjunction with you as well for this county. I think what we see, and I get from a tourism standpoint, is we'd like to see more things in the northern end of the county. And talk about how much growth we're going to see in that northern end of the county when we hear about things going on in Chatham County, Lee County, VinFast, Wolf Speed, Toyota building a massive plant up there off the 421 Carolina Core. How much is that 421 Carolina Core corridor going to impact northern Moore over the next 5, 10, 20 years?
Astronomically. When you're looking at Toyota, for one, that's a 30-minute drive from Robbins. That plant is a $14 billion investment, 5,100 employees, wages $60,000, $80,000, $100,000, $120,000, depending on the work requirements and the skill set necessary to meet their needs. And we're talking about a company that values a lifelong employee. Their benefits are absolutely phenomenal. We were talking to a young guy that's from Robbins, just got hired the other day. His wife works, I believe, at a governmental facility here in Moore County, and he said, said my benefits are better than hers. And so they're offering quality benefits. You've got Wolf Speed, of course, up in Siler City. That's about 2,000 employees and a $5 billion investment. And then you got VinFast, it's about 7,500 employees and a $5 to $7 billion investment there. So the main thing we've got to do is to provide them with a quality, educated workforce for the needs that they have for their particular application. So one of the things we're doing, Dr. Sandy Stewart, our new president at Sandhills Community College, and I have been working together to bring forth the curriculum that meets the needs of those companies so that we can fill the jobs that are available today and tomorrow, not the jobs that we had yesterday, last week, and that are not going to be back and forever gone.
You mentioned Dr. Stewart, who took over for Dr. Dempsey. Talk about that transition, how Dr. Dempsey got Sandhills Community College to this point, and where Sandy's now going to take that baton and move it forward to do the things that you mentioned that are critically important to the future of the people that attend Sandhills Community College in this community.
Absolutely. Dr. Dempsey did a great job laying the foundation and the groundwork for where we are today. Of course, 30 years ago when he came here, it was a different dynamic. Right. It was a different requirement for employees. It was a different curriculum being taught. And so we have new curriculums, new requirements, new issues, new thought processes, and again, new requirements for those jobs. So Sandy is well suited for that job. I'm real proud that he's a native son of Moore County. His family's been here since the 1700s, and he, of course, has a doctor's degree. Good North Carolina State graduate right there, and we're real proud to be working with him. And, of course, one of the things that we did in this past General Assembly was to bring $25 million as an appropriation to Sandhills Community College to create and craft a new early college high school with the emphasis on the trades. So these are jobs, again, that are going to be needed in all these major manufacturing companies that are located in close proximity to our county line, our county borders, and they'll be preparing those students for those opportunities, and it'll happen within 3 years.
I know as chairman of the Transportation Committee, you see a lot of things going on with the growth in Moore County. The argument over what's going to be done with the circle, the famous circle connecting Pinehurst and Southern Pines. After the 2024 U.S. Open, as you know, there's going to be, a dozen DOT projects that will commence. I think if you go out 211, if I go see my brother in Greensboro, I go 211, I see where that highway is going to be widened and the road being cleared. Talk about the impact of those. I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what is the difference we're going to see in our transportation, in our roads, between the 2024 U.S. Open and the 2029 U.S. Open, and what should we prepare for?
Well, we need to be prepared for some work going on, number one. Right. And it's going to be a little bit of a hassle, a little bit of a headache. There'll be some
growing pains.
Growing pains, thank you very much. And the opportunity that we will have for the next 30 years will be greatly enhanced because we'll be able to accommodate more traffic, more safer environment, which is the whole thing of traffic. North Carolina, a lot of people don't know, has the second greatest number of centerline road miles of any state in America, second only to the state of Texas. So we have a lot of road miles to begin with. We got to do a lot of maintenance. We got to do a lot of upkeep and a lot of expansion, especially in areas where we have spectacular growth like we have in Moore County. So you can see a lot of positive things happening. We've got the new MPO that's just kicking off here in Moore County, and they'll have a say in what goes on in the future of transportation. They'll have a vote, if you will. They'll have points that can be placed on different projects to emphasize their interest, and if they're for something or against it, they'll be able to make that interest known. So there's a lot of moving parts to transportation. And then, of course, we've got our great airport. We just brought $5 million from Raleigh that'll be used to enhance and expand our terminal. It doesn't need to be done away with. We got a great terminal, but it does need some rouge and lipstick on it. And we get that done, and then say 10 or 15 years from now, we can come back with a new terminal. And where everybody wants commercial. Everybody wants commercial, but I'm afraid it's not going to happen right now. That's off the chart. We've tried our best and used every technique we can have in the can, but they change the size of the jets, more requirements for more passengers, shorter period of time, and we're just not quite ready for that yet. But there is always that possibility in the future.
You must have read my show notes, because I had the $5 million grant that was awarded to the airport, and we're preparing for the U.S. Open. So there will be some things that will be done prior to June. So when these players and corporate entities arrive, they'll see kind of more of a welcome to the Sandhills or welcome to the home of American golf kind of feel. But just to reiterate, you don't see commercial flight service anytime soon, but not eliminated for well down the road.
Never say never. Never say never. One thing that is going up that is really, really exciting, a brand new corporate hangar breaking ground this week, and it'll be ready in May, so it'll be ready for the U.S. Open, and we'll be parking some big jets in there coming from all across the world.
I tell you what, I live in Whispering Pines, so I drive by the tarmac every day, and this is before the President's Cup in Charlotte a couple years ago. I drove by that tarmac. There had to be 4 dozen corporate planes that were probably coming here to play golf in Pinehurst before they went over to Charlotte to Quail Hollow. And my brother used to work in that corporate aviation industry, and I took pictures of some of the planes. He said, "Oh yeah, there's some money over there." He mentioned some of the planes I don't remember off the top of my head, but they were $40 million planes that were flying here. So obviously there's money being invested into this area, which is hugely important, obviously.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Sandy Stewart, the new president at San Luis Community College. We just mentioned the airport. Rick Cloutier, I'm sure you've had a chance to meet him.
Absolutely.
Came in. He was actually at Concord, which was, it reminds me when I lived in Charlotte, Concord was kind of like what Moore County is to Raleigh. All the NASCAR guys would fly in there with their corporate jets there in Concord, because all those race teams are right there, Lake Norman, Mooresville area like that. Talk about his experience, having a chance to meet him. How impressed are you with him and him leading the charge of the airport now?
Well, he's a rock star, for one thing, and he has the knowledge and skill set to understand how to deal with the FAA, and that in and to itself is a big star in his crown. So we've had great folks that have run our airport, but at this point in the game, with the expansion that we're going to be doing there, the widening, the strengthening, all the things that we'll be doing, the enhancements, if you will, we need someone who has a strong working relationship with the FAA, and he has that, and it's already paying big dividends.
Just going back up to Raleigh and your work up at the legislature, it's interesting because I think a lot of people in the country are tainted by some of the bickering and going back and forth. But you have to work, you have to reach across the aisle to your colleagues there. An interesting story I was told in preparation for this was that one of your competitors, a Democrat, Senator Woodward from Durham, was in an accident, and you reached out and you were kind of touched by it and just felt genuine concern for your colleague, but also a competitor and somebody who's on the other side of the aisle. Talk about how important that is to you, that everybody in the legislature, everybody has a voice, and that, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, you're trying to make things work up in Raleigh.
Absolutely. Well, Senator Mike Woodard from Durham County is a fabulous senator. He and I work very closely on the Transportation Committee. And one of the things that we worked on most recently was the internal audits of state government, all the units of state government. We had an internal audit program that was flawed. It lacked transparency and it lacked independence. He and I both spotted that. We worked together to craft legislation that was a bipartisan piece of legislation, and we ran it. We ran out of time because it was so important that we bring forth this legislation, that we were able to talk both sides of the aisle into putting it in the budget as a policy change, and it is of significant and historic proportion of what it does to protect the assets and the value and the money and the monetary things that we have here in North Carolina that are operated within the different units of state government. That was a success story, and I'm not going to say it would have happened without him, but I'm going to tell you it was a lot easier working in concert with somebody in the minority party and bringing forth quality legislation.
As you know, we specialize in tourism here at the CVB. We promote Moore County. We're so fortunate because people will say, hey, you all are doing a great job, but it takes Pinehurst Resort, it takes Kelly at Pine Needles, Mid-Pines, all their shops, shop owners, restaurants, agriculture, to make it all fit and work, because we're a different kind of destination, unlike others around the state. So when you come here, you think about how timeless this place is, and you can come here and escape and really relax and walk Weymouth Woods and see red-cockaded woodpeckers and blue jays and cardinals and things like that. What would you say to somebody who's never been to North Carolina and they're saying, I don't know whether to go, I'll probably go to the mountains, I might go to the coast, but why is this area so special?
Well, we have 4 seasons here. You go to the mountains, of course, they got summer and they got winter. You go to the coast, they got summer, then they got summer, and they got a lot more summer. Because it's awfully warm down there, and of course they have some coolness in the wintertime as well. But we truly have 4 great seasons here. We're easily accessible. We got fabulous health care. We got great recreation. We got a wonderful road system to get us here. We got a great airport. We've got, again, talk about Sandhills. If somebody wants to go over at 70 years old and get them another degree, as a lot of people do here, or pick up some credits for something, that's available. We just don't lack anything. If somebody says, how about quality shopping? Well, hey, we're getting a Target, so that's a big deal, So there's a lot of opportunity here that you don't have to fight that 8 lanes of traffic and wait in line, although we've got a couple of places now that's got a couple of choke points, but we're working on that. So, but it basically represents the whole great part of North Carolina.
And if I could touch upon a topic which we're pursuing now, and we've talked off camera and off microphones, and it's no secret that we've been looking to increase our occupancy tax and working with our county commissioners, which have the ultimate say in doing that. And obviously you have your opinions about that too. I think from our chairman, Kelly Miller, and former chairman, Tom Pashley, Bonnie McPeak, everybody who's on our board, we feel like as this area grows, we want to be a part of that growth and bringing tourism-related expenditures or things like an amphitheater. Everything we do in a research, 99 times out of 100, they're like, people want to see an amphitheater, like 2,000 seat or 2,000 person amphitheater for a really cool, legit concert to bring in name people, that people would come from Raleigh and Charlotte and Richmond and stay overnight. So how important is that our industry, our tourism industry, be a part of that when it comes to capital improvements and things that we need to do to help grow this destination further?
Well, it's like everything else. Without a plan, you have problems, and there's no incentive for anybody to do anything without a positive, forward-looking plan. Mm-hmm. So I'm certainly looking forward to your organization and the others you mentioned, coming forward with that plan and see how it plays out, and see what we can do.
Awesome. Well, we're certainly working on that, and we may see something transpire here in the first or second quarter of 2024 as we get ready for the U.S. Open, which will put us on the global stage, which we're looking forward to. I think it's interesting because I remember the groundbreaking for Golf House Pinehurst, and you've met Michael Wan a couple of times, the leader of the USGA, and so your former career as an auctioneer and the way that you are so enthusiastic, I'd never forget, because you spoke so resoundingly and thunderously about that opportunity. Mike Wan just literally got down and bowed because I think he would walk through a brick wall because of your energy and enthusiasm. Where do you get that?
Well, just kind of raised that way, I guess. When you have a mother that's a teacher and a dad that's a small farmer and an entrepreneur, you got to pay attention every day. And so I'm forever indebted to my mother and father and my family for giving me the wonderful foundation and the opportunities that I've had to travel across this great country and participate in the auction method of marketing from here to California and from here to Canada and all across the United States. It's been a great career.
You're not just a former auctioneer. You're like in a hall of fame for auctioneers.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little bit, or do you do that at all anymore?
I forgot how. It's been so long ago.
Well, before we go, let me just give you one last opportunity to say something to the constituents, what we can expect from your office. And again, thank you for everything you do for this destination, for your constituents, for the people of Moore County, Cumberland County, and for where you're from here in the Sandhills.
Well, I'll just tell everybody in the listening audience, if you're from Cumberland County or Moore County and you have a problem with state government, and I'm sorry to say, parts of our state government operate very inefficiently and ineffectively. We've got some challenges at DMV that we're addressing right now, and the waiting in line is unacceptable. The 3 months to get an appointment to get your license renewed, unacceptable. So we're working on that. But if you do have a problem with state government, please call my office in Raleigh, and we'll be glad to help you in any way we can. We're not a federal government. We don't have a big staff. I only have one legislative assistant, and she's in the office 5 days a week. And send us an email or a text, and hey, we're glad to hear from you. Anything we can do to help, we're glad to help.
Well, I'll be the first one to tell you, if you call or email Senator McInnis, he will personally call you back, and I mean promptly. And in fact, before this podcast, you were supposed to be here at 3 p.m., and he called and said, I might be running a couple minutes late. Who does that anymore? And he shows up 5 minutes early. So, Senator, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks,
everything
Phil.
you do, appreciate everything. And we look forward to everything you're going to do. And we look forward to seeing you at the U.S. Open. I'm sure we'll see you many times between now and then.
Looking forward to seeing everybody in the cradle of American golf.
Awesome. Thank you, Senator. Well, if you want to learn more about tourism, just go to homeofgolf.com. If you want to watch this podcast, you can go to our YouTube channel, which is Home of American Golf. And if you want to download the podcast, just search Paradise in the Pines. Download it, tell your friends, and share it. We look forward to it, and we'll see you next time.